Still signing on, so. All right, it looks like, oh, we just had another surge. I was just going to say, it looks like we have significantly slowed down the number of people signing on, but we just had another surge. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so. All right, so while a few people are still signing on, let me start. My name is Greg Cunningham. I'm from the Boston Diocese, one of the co-chairs of speech, and we'd like to welcome you to this meeting for speech judges for the NCFL Grand National Tournament happening in Chicago in just a few days. So welcome. We thank you for joining us. We know you're giving up your time on a Sunday evening, and we really appreciate that. I'm joined online by Tom Beck, who is the president of the National Catholic Forensic League. We also sometimes refer to him as the voice of the National Catholic Forensic League. Also, Mark Rischitelli, who is second vice president. Am I right about that? Second vice president of the National Catholic Forensic League, also co-chair of speech. David Yaskremski is in the air, who is also the co-chair of speech, so he will not be joining us tonight. We are also joined by Frank Riccobono, who is responsible for setting this up, as well as many, many of the technical aspects of the tournament that happened. So we're all here. And as we did mention before, we would ask if you have questions at any time during the presentation. There's going to be two halves to the meeting. First is the logistics for Chicago. The second is about events. If you do have any questions, if you could put those in the chat, and we will get to those, either answer in the chat itself or answer verbally if we have the chance to do that. So let me start. Let me get this. One second, and then we can get started. All right, so again, welcome to the meeting. We're looking forward to hosting you in Chicago this coming weekend, and we do have some logistical things. Even if you were there last year, a few things have changed, and we really just wanted to walk you through that. One of the biggest differences, if you happen to have judged last year in Chicago, is that this year all speech judges will remain in the same building for the entire day. We were well aware about halfway through the day on Saturday last year, and this is Saturday prelim rounds only, but on Saturday we were very well aware that just as judges were getting to understand the logistics and where rooms were in a building, you were switching buildings and you had to learn a whole new place. So this year, we're going to keep everybody at the same site. That does mean that at some sites, you might be, or you would be judging either 3 or 4 rounds, and most judges will have 4 rounds of the same event. So if you're at the duo site, you'll have most likely 4 rounds of duo. At the OO site, 4 rounds of original oratory. At the extemp site at the Palmer House, 4 rounds of extemp. Dramatic performance and declamation are combined at the same site. So at that site, you'll either get dramatic performance or declamation, and then oratorial interpretation is also at one site, but of course that's prose and poetry, alternating rounds. So at least you'll have some variety there as well. We will have all sorts of tab staff that's also going to be helping to support you. I'm going to get into details as to how to find those folks towards the end. But there is tab staff. There will be staff in every building. There'll be room checkers in every building, and there'll be a member from the events team in every building to make sure that you won't have any issues. Each building will also feature a standby judge room, and this is crucial. This is incredibly important. If you don't have a round, so if you are lucky enough to get one of the rounds off during the course of the 4-round day, we would ask you at the beginning of the round that you have off, the standby round, to please go to the standby room, the standby lounge. We will have personnel in there, and that's in case a judge. Sometimes judges get ill during the course of the day, and we have to substitute them out. Sometimes for reasons that are no one's fault, a round runs late, and we're trying to get things to stay on time, so we might substitute a judge if a judge is running extremely late from the previous round. Uh, Sometimes judges just don't quite make it to a round that they were assigned to. So that standby round lounge is really important to keep the day moving and to keep things running on time. So we would ask if you are a standby judge to please go to that room. Once we have all of the rounds started and once we have all the judges accounted for, one of the folks in that room will let you know that you are good, good to go. You won't have to sit in that room for the entire round. You can, if you're looking for someplace to get some work done or just someplace to sit. But that won't be a requirement. As soon as we know that all the rounds have started, we'll release the judges in all standby rooms and you'll be good to go. So, but it is really important if you are on standby to please go to that room. We still have health and safety protocols that are in place. And one of the things that we think it's important to let people know is that masks are optional, but competitors certainly can choose to wear their mask during their speech if they choose. And we ask you not to deduct points or to make comments about them wearing the mask during their speech on the ballot or in the room. If they choose to wear the mask, that's their choice, and we need to accommodate that. Obviously, judges are also more than welcome to wear a mask if you are more comfortable doing so. And we ask everyone, if you're not feeling well or if you have some symptoms, to please consider wearing a mask to protect others or to remove yourself from the tournament and just to let us know. There is updated CDC guidance. We'll make sure that that link is posted so that you can view that if you are interested. Just to let you know a few things that are going on. Number one, hopefully at this point, everybody understands that if you're getting on an airplane to get to Chicago, you have to have a real ID to get through TSA security or a passport. A passport works as well. The Chicago airports are all ports of entry. All of the locations that we are using are public property, which means we don't control what's really happening. We are renting the space for the day or for 2 days, and we can't have full control of the spaces. We will distribute wristbands to all judges, to all coaches, to all competitors, to anyone who is part of the tournament. And the wristbands just are a level of security so that we can identify that someone is part of the tournament or is possibly not part of the tournament. Those wristbands will be distributed to either coaches for each school or distributed to diocesan directors if they choose, who will then distribute those wristbands to the school. So your coach of your school should be getting your wristband sometime either on Thursday or Friday or Saturday morning as you're walking out the door to head to the tournament sites. There are a number of other things going on in Chicago during the course of Memorial Day weekend. There is the big music festival in Grant Park that happens all weekend. It is a huge music festival. You can definitely hear it as you're walking down Michigan Avenue. There is the IML conference and competition that goes on at the Congress Plaza Hotel. That happens all weekend. The Memorial Day Parade happens on State Street. That means there will be some late Saturday morning road closures in and around State Street. So please check for postings if you are driving around Chicago on Saturday. And Saturday evening, AC/DC is playing at Soldier Field. So it is a very, very busy weekend in Chicago. One of the suggestions that our host has made is that if you are walking between the two hotels, between the Hilton and the Palmer House, to use Wabash. I forget if it's Ave Street, but Wabash is a main connection, and it runs between the Palmer House and the Chicago Hilton. So that is one suggestion that has been made. We will use Tabroom Blast to update students and coaches in real time for each events, but there are no longer text messages that come through. So it's important that you are checking your Tabroom account, but also have access to the email account that you use to sign in to Tabroom. Because if we do need to send out messages, it will go to that email account. So it's important that you have access to that. We also will post anything that we need to convey on the live doc for for all the events. And that live doc link should go out either Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, and we'll have up to the minute and real time updates as necessary on what's going on the speech live doc in the speech world. We'll also update social media and ncflnationals.org as needed. Social media updates are on Facebook and on Instagram. So there's plenty of places where you can get information, but we would ask you to please look at those live docs frequently. Even at the end of a round, it might not be a bad idea to check the live doc to see if there's been any update about status. If there were something that were to happen, we might ask people to remain in a building if there was something going on out on the street or somewhere in the neighborhood. We don't expect any issues, we don't expect any problems, but we wanted to have that level of security so that if we did need to react to something that was happening, that we would be able to communicate that in real time, and that people would be aware as soon as we possibly could get that information to you. We're in the middle of online speech training right now. Notifications from this point forward are all going to be sent through Tabroom, so you can watch your emails for information about the tournament this week, and they'll come directly through tabroom.com. This video will be posted on ncflnationals.org as soon as Frank is able to get it in a mode that can be posted. I'm sure it will be early this week, if not tonight, knowing Frank. So, but certainly it will be soon. On Friday morning, there will be a ballot test for all judges. This is across all events. And the notifications will be sent via Tabroom. The ballot test is not mandatory, but it is strongly, strongly recommended. And we recommend it so that you know on Friday that you're getting notifications, that you can see the ballots on your Tabroom account, and that everything is working properly. If you get that ballot test on Friday, then you know you're good to go for Saturday and Sunday. And if you don't receive it, then you know that there's an issue. So please look for that ballot test. We would ask you, it's going to be 5-10 minutes, probably not even, to just click through and acknowledge the ballot test and to be sure that everything is working. There also will be equity and bias training for all judges, and that will be available later this week. An email will be sent through Tabroom for all judges in all events to do a quick equity and bias training as we have done in the past. There will be plenty of Chicago host volunteers walking around. They'll be in the teal shirts that you see pictured here. And if you have an issue, like you have a missing judge, if a student has not shown up in your round, if you discover a conflict that a student is in the room that you know personally or that you have coached and that you can't judge them, if there's an issue with a room, you can text the speech tab directly. The number is there on the screen, 872-201-8281. This number will also be in the live doc. We're also going to send it out via email so that you'll have easy access to that number. The one thing that we would ask you to do is if you are missing a kid or you're missing a competitor and the round is just about to start. So if you're in the first round of the day at 8:30 and at 8:31 you're missing a student or you're missing a judge, don't text us at 8:31. Give it 5, maybe 10 minutes, probably 10 minutes at least, to see if that person does end up. They might have just gotten lost. They may have stopped to grab water. They may be trying to grab a coffee. The line was longer than they anticipated. Something may happen. We just don't want to start, at the 1 minute mark to start getting texts. If you can give us about 10 minutes and then let us know. We also will have room checkers coming around to every single room to make sure that there are 3 judges in every single section. So all speech sections, all speech rounds, should not begin until all 3 judges are there. And we'd also ask you if you could just wait until the room checker comes in and confirms that all 3 of your judges are there. That way they don't have to wait outside the room, kind of poke their head through the window to try to make sure that the 3 judges are there. They will be wearing burgundy colored shirts with the NCFL logo on them, so you'll know exactly who our room checkers are. They also can probably help you, or at least direct you to help if you have any issues when you're in the room, or if you have any questions, they can certainly direct you to that help. And the one thing I do want to remind is that we appreciate that every single person who is judging at this tournament is volunteering their time for the weekend, and we greatly appreciate that. We obviously could not do this without our volunteer judges, but we also want to remind you that everyone running the tournament is also a volunteer. None of us get paid for doing this. We do this because of our love of the activity, for our love for the league, and we're all volunteers. And I promise you, I assure you that we are all working as hard as we can to make sure that everybody has a good experience. I'm quite sure that that will happen, but it's always good to point out that everybody at the tournament for the entire weekend that is working, that is judging, that's checking rooms, that is doing computer, trying to solve problems with Tabroom. Everybody there is a volunteer. So we appreciate all of our volunteers because we literally could not have the league without them. And just a few final notes. Timing, when you're in the round before you begin, please confirm with between the 3 judges who is going to keep time, and then please affirm with students who will be keeping time and what time signals will be used. The standard is that if a student asks for, say, 2 down, that you have 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. Some students like to see the 30 seconds, and then a fist when the time is up. Students are allowed to self-time, but they can't perform their speech holding a phone. So they would have to have a stand or to prop it up on a desk at the front if they do choose to self-time. This is something that we're seeing more and more in extemporaneous speaking. One thing that's worth noting is that the judge time is the official time. So what you have as your official time is the official time for the room. So it's just really important to make sure that this is well communicated among the judges, and then again to the students. It's very possible, and many of the students are going to ask you not to give them time signals because they find it distracting and that they know that they don't need them. So if they ask, if they say no time signals, please, then please don't give them any time signals, no matter what their time is. So even if they're going over, they've asked for no time signals, please don't give them any time signals. If you have any questions about events or about your tabroom.com account, we will be in the Hilton Chicago Boulevard room. It's Boulevard ABC. Anytime on Friday between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Feel free to come down and we will help you with whatever issue. If you need a clarification about an event or a few events, if you need a clarification about what pools you're in on Sunday for elimination rounds, which will all be held at the Hilton. If you are having trouble logging into your account, or if you did not receive the test ballot, feel free to come down to Boulevard ABC at the Chicago Hilton, and there will be someone there. There'll be multiple people in the room, and certainly someone can help walk you through those issues, and we'll get those solved for you. One thing that we suggest to judges is when you are typing your comments, if you put your comments in a Word doc or a Google Doc, and then copy those comments into Tabroom and then save them. Sometimes the internet glitches. Sometimes Tabroom glitches, and the comments that you have in there do not save. And if they don't save, they are sometimes lost forever. So if you have those on a Word document, if you type the comments on Word or in Google or in some word processing program that you can type on, and then when you're done, when you're ready, you can copy those comments, paste them into Tabroom, and then save them. We are going to be having people checking through comments and just looking to make sure comments are being made. If you're still working on the comments, say an hour or so after the round has ended, it would be really helpful on our side if you can just put in the reason for decision box the comment that goes to everybody in the round, still working on comments. just so we know that you're aware that you have not put comments in yet, and it will save us from trying to track you down or send you a text message asking, reminding you that you haven't put comments in on this round. So if you put that message still working on comments, we'll know that you're working on them, and we'll leave you alone. And you do have Saturday and Sunday to complete comments. We would ask you to just try to get comments in as quickly as you can. But what's most important is to make sure that before you leave that room is when the round ends, before you leave that room, no matter what time it is, no matter how late that room may have been running, we need you to submit your ranks before you leave that room. So if round one is running late and you're 10 minutes late already to round two, we still need you to submit your ranks to round one before you get up and leave to go to round two. That's really crucial that the ranks are coming in immediately or as soon as possible after the round is over. And again, if you need to go back and add comments later, that's perfectly fine. You also can go back and refine comments later as you see the need. And the one thing that I always remind all the judges is that the overwhelming percentage of students that will leave this tournament will not leave with a trophy or a medal. The only thing that they'll have to take with them when they leave this tournament, when they leave Chicago, are the comments that you've made on their ballots. So you might wonder, well, it's the end of the year. There's really not that much competition left. Do I really need to make these comments? It helps us as coaches to be able to say to a student, well, here's why you got the rank that you got, and to help them kind of process and walk through. And again, because for the overwhelming number of students, this is all they're going to have from the tournament. So we would ask you to just keep that in mind when you're writing your comments, when putting those in, and hopefully the students will find constructive ideas and some great positive comments and some things that they can also work on as they move along with their speech career, or maybe they just move on to the next phase of their life. So we appreciate that understanding that you would have. For logistics, that's everything that I have. I'm just going to ask Mark, Frank, or Tommy if I missed anything that you want to jump in and say.
I just want to point out one thing. There's a lot of people are asking questions about locations. So we'll definitely, I think in the earlier session you did go through by event where everything is. That information will be in the live doc as well. And it's important to note that this isn't one of those tournaments that's very sprawled out. All of the locations are within walking distance of each other. And if you have mobility issues and need to, there will also be buses that can take you to those locations. These aren't that we're sending you to the far-flung pieces of Chicago if this is your first time there. All of the sites are very close together, so you should have no trouble getting to where you need to be. And we'll print out in the live doc exactly where each event is.
And I can pull up, I didn't include it in the slide, but I can pull up the map so that you can see where everything is. We'll make sure that that's on shortly. I'll turn things over to Tommy and I'll track that down. So.
And then, yeah, and a few other people are asking about how they know what event they're judging. You should be able to see that now in your Tabroom page. If you log into the tabroom.com and go to your homepage, it should tell you which pool you're in. It'll say something like Saturday in parentheses EXT. I posted earlier in the chat a list of what all the abbreviations mean.
And I just want to clarify because we've had a number of questions about this via email, and that is IE does not stand for international extemp. It stands for individual events, meaning speech event. So I know that that's caused some confusion. Give me 1 second, and I will share the slide that has the map on it as well. Let me just. And oh, now that's lost. All right, let me stop that share. And
While you're looking at that, there's a number of people in the chat asking if they're hired judges, do they get their wristbands at the same place, or do you have those all centrally?
we just talked about this today. We are going to make sure that those are at the sites on Saturday morning. So when you get to the site, there should be somebody in the front, or the judge lounge will be right in the front of the building with luck, and they will have wristbands for you. If you are in debate, you can just go to the tab room and they will have wristbands at the tab room. So you'll be able to get in and see these folks and be able to pick up a wristband when you get there. And if anybody asks, you can show them your tab room account to show that you're a hired judge. On the screen right now is the map, and you can see all of the different sites, and they really are a close walk. And this is what I was talking about. This is Wabash that's right here. You can go in the back entrance to the Hilton. Jones College Prep is right there. East West University is just beyond the Chicago Hilton. Columbia just down the street. Roosevelt University just down the street. And then the Palmer House, which for a speech is where extemp will happen, is at the very end. So I did the walk from the Palmer House to the Chicago Hilton many times last year. And I would say if you are a brisk walker, it's probably 10 minutes. If you're an average walker, probably 15 at most. And then also, just so that you are aware, these are the building entrance addresses, and we will post this on the live doc as well. So if you want to put it into your phone, if you're using Google Maps or something like that, you can put the address in, and it'll bring you right to the entrance. Tommy, Mark, Frank, anything else before I turn things over to Tommy?
A number of people have been asking, so just to enter it centrally, octos is octafinals. It's the first of the elimination rounds. You might also see quarters or semis in there. So those are the elimination rounds on Sunday, and those are all at Hilton. Question in the chat about public forum debate, where that's being held. I believe that is in Hilton on Saturday and Palmer on Sunday. Is that correct, Greg?
No, I actually think it's.
Or is it, did I reverse that?
I think
It's definitely it's at one of the hotels.
Yes, you are right. It's
Okay.
It's at the Hilton on Saturday. Go back to Palmer. Actually, no, I take that back. The map was incorrect. The public forum is at the Palmer House, as is LD at the Palmer House. Congress is at the Hilton Chicago.
And yes, the live doc will have all the locations. So you don't need to necessarily note this down now. We will send out this information to you many times in many forms to know where you're going.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I was looking at Sunday. You know what? Let me just
Okay.
put this up.
Okay.
I didn't realize that that's at Sunday. Just I don't want to confuse people. That's my fault. Here. This is where we are for Saturday. These are Tabroom locations as well, but these are where the events will be. So LD and PF both at the Hilton Chicago, extemp at the Palmer House, Congress at the Hilton Chicago, policy at the Palmer House, and speech headquarters, speech tab will be at the Hilton Chicago, but the rounds themselves will actually take place here. So Roosevelt, Columbia, Jones College Prep, East West. All right. Hopefully I didn't confuse too many people. And just to answer the question, that there will be tab rooms will have wristbands. So if you get in late on Friday night and you miss the wristband and lunch ticket pickup, you should be able to the wristbands tab rooms will have. Lunch ticket late pickup, we're going to have to put in the live doc because I don't know where that will be.
They can check with their moderator too, Greg,
Yeah,
for lunch tickets.
Yep. If you know you're going to be late, you might ask your moderator to pick up lunch tickets and just put whatever hotel you're staying at. They can leave them under your name at the front desk. I've done that for schools before, and they're pretty good. Hired judges, if you did fill out the lunch form um, that we sent out, you will get an email that will be your lunch ticket. You do not have to worry about picking up lunch tickets. And while some questions still come in, which we can probably address in the chat, I'm going to turn things over to Tommy Beck. He's going to talk about the individual events. And again, as we had mentioned before, if you are someone whose league follows NCFL rules, we would invite you to stay. But if you feel at this point that you've heard Tommy's speech many times, as some of us have, feel free at this point, if you don't have any questions, to log off, and we thank you for being here, and we will see you this weekend in Chicago. Tommy, it's all yours.
All right. Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you, everyone, for judging. We certainly cannot do this without you. We know many of you, like myself, are volunteering, or some are just here because you love the event. And it's important that we give feedback, both constructive, what the student did well, and what they can improve upon in their performances. A lot of you have detailed questions that really are more for, as Greg said earlier, and so did Frank, the live doc. There is the ncflnationals.org that has a schedule overview. The live doc should be out soon with all the information. And I'm happy to see so many people looking for it, because as a teacher, it's always a challenge to get people to read, especially my AP Lit students. So I'm very happy that you're interested in the live doc. I'm going to be going through the events. I know especially my New Yorkers are probably sick of hearing me. This is like my cabaret act that I go through. If you do hear some meowing in the back, it is not the Jellicle Ball. I do have two rag dolls who like to join in sometimes, so I apologize for any meowing you might hear. So I'm going to start off by just basically talking about time signals, because I think in the chat there was a good comment that regionally, state, we might have our own rules at NCFL. Students are allowed to ask for time signals. They may ask to see them to make sure they had enough caffeine that morning. They may want to just see how long their piece is. There's no penalty for asking for time signals, and every event that I mentioned does have a 30-second grace period, right? And that is fine. If they use the grace period, that is fine. I know in some states that's not the case, but for NCFL, if they use this 30-second grace, it's fine. Once they go over the 30-second grace period, the rule for NCFL states they cannot be first. They could be second, third, fourth, fifth, but they just can't be first if they go past 10:30, 10:31, 10:40, 11, God help us. That's what that's there for. So I'm going to start with extemp. Again, extemporaneous speaking, the students have a half hour before they get to that room to prepare a speech. They are going to choose a question. They are going to have time to prepare that question's answer. They're going to bring you the little slip of paper with the question on it, and they're going to answer that question, not the question they wish they got, but the question that they are presenting to you. They may have, a 3-point analysis. They may have a certain way of answering. There is no right or wrong way. There's no cookie cutter needed, but they're going to best answer that question. And as the judge, sometimes we see judges like to flow the speech to kind of write down what their areas of analysis were and all that. But again, it's important in extemp to realize that we kind of put our personal bias aside, because a lot of them are political questions, right? We might have different beliefs than the speaker, but again, look at what the speaker did well and what they could improve upon in answering that question. Extemp is the one that gets tricky with timing, because it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And most of our coaches have their students doing certain things at different times. So if you say, you know what, you're adorable, just chat and don't worry about time, most of the extempers will implode. They do need to see the passage of time. Again, of the 3 judges, make sure they're all there. Make sure one will be the official timekeeper of that round and provide time signals. We ask that you do cater to each student's request, what they would like. I know in New York, most kids like 5 down. So because it's a 7-minute and 30-second speech, after 2 minutes have elapsed, because 2 plus 5 is 7, we show them 5, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. And if they ask for 30 seconds, there's your half. And then we get the fist at 7. They still have 30 seconds beyond that. At 7:30, I give them the Sister Ramon Memorial Tea that they are over time, and that's how we time extemp. Again, one of the 3 judges will be the official timekeeper decided amongst the 3 of you. All right. And that's pretty much extemp. Our next speech event is original oratory. God bless these students. They have written their own speeches on any topic they really would like. It could be to inform, to persuade, to celebrate, whatever they would like to do with that speech. It should obviously have some backup, if you would, some research to include whatever they're trying to do in their speech. Has a beginning, a middle, and an end, of course. And in that speech, if you look at the ballot, you certainly do have the ability as the judge to comment on the content almost the way an English teacher would with an essay. So beautiful opening, great hook talking about, grandparents coming here from a different country, and now you're talking about tap dancing elephants. I'm not seeing the connection. Did I miss perhaps a transition, right? So that kind of thing. Again, we don't comment on, I don't like the ideas or the politics behind that because it's different from mine, but we look at what the student did well and what they could improve upon in that speech, right? It's great to also know that we are here primarily for speech, but they are the author of the speech as well. That one, as well as every other event, is 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So some people will say, well, Tom, if they wrote the speech, don't they know how long it is? Well, perhaps they had too much Starbucks or not enough Starbucks that morning. So they may ask for time signals. If they do ask for them, fine. If they don't ask for them, you should still time and make sure no one goes over 10 minutes and 30 seconds. All right. The next one is OI, which is oral interpretation. We have one round being prose, one round being poetry. So let's talk about prose. Prose could be an excerpt from a novel. It could be a nonfiction essay. It could be a short story. It just cannot be a play. And in that, it could be a situation where it's a first-person narrator like Holden Caulfield or Huck Finn talking right to the audience, or it could be a story that has multiple characters and they may have focal points as to how they're speaking with different character voices. Again, with oral interprets, pretty much facial expressions and gesturing that sort of brings the literature to life off the page. It is a reading event, and as the ballot says, there should be a reasonable balance between the script and the audience, or the script and the focal points. Again, it could be funny, it could be serious, it could be a combination of the two. But again, it's the maximum. There is no minimum, but the maximum is 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Now we flip the coin literally and go to poetry. Well, poetry used to rhyme, right? I don't know what poetry can be today. It certainly doesn't have to rhyme. Sometimes it could be one long poem, like a Chaucer tale. It could be a collection of poems around a motif or a theme, or perhaps an author. In the introduction, the student, as this says on the ballot, will tell you what the poem is and who the author of that poem is. And they'll put it together in this poetry program they're presenting to you, using, again, facial expressions, gesturing to bring that to life, okay? They can use the binder as well to enhance. And you'll notice, too, it's nothing that is, we've kind of changed the view on that. There's nothing that's automatically, that's a disqualification. It's what the kid does with their 10 minutes and 30 seconds and how you think they do in kind of bringing that poetry or prose to life. I will say here, a lot of times people locally, I'm talking New York, will say, Tom, I don't think this was a poem. Can you check? Because there's 3 judges, if you think there's a rules violation at NCFL Nationals, we ask that you tick a lock, don't mention it to the other judges, rank it as you see it, and then contact the protest committee. They will then do an investigation with the coach and the fact-finding with the student to see if that is a proper genre for OI or drama, whatever it may be, okay? But don't take it upon yourself to tell the other judges, this is not a story, it should be a 7, because that's going to mess things up for the day, okay? OI is a lot of fun. Moving on to the next one, which I always think is a challenge in today's world, which is duo. Why is it a challenge? Because you got to get 2 teenagers in the same room on a weekend. It's a challenge. But they are going to work together as a team to bring a story to life. Again, it could be funny, it could be serious, it could be a combination of the two. It could be from a novel, it could be a play or a screenplay. They're going to work together as a team to transport you out of the classroom you're in Chicago into the world they're creating and the universe they're creating with these 2 characters interacting verbally and non-verbally. Again, this, like everything else, is 10 minutes and 30 seconds. They may ask for time, they may not ask for time. But again, if they don't ask, one of the 3 judges should be the official timekeeper. Moving on to declamation. Declamation is our JV event. That is only for freshmen and sophomores. It is sort of the basic training / building blocks of forensic speech. Here, the students, number 1, learn, am I holding the room's attention? How do I do that? How do I use platform movement effectively? How do I bring someone else's speech? So it's a speech by, it could be a famous president, it could be a political figure, it could be someone's old original oratory, it could be a commencement speech, it could be a TED Talk. Someone else has written the speech. They either selected it or were handed it by their coach, and they're going to bring the message of that speaker to you using their freshman and sophomore self, right? So it's not that I'm becoming Indira Gandhi or I'm becoming MLK. It's that I am bringing the message that they have in their speech to you using my freshman and sophomore self, right? So that's, again, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Again, they may ask for time signals. They may not want to see them. Again, someone should time to make sure they don't exceed the grace period of 30 seconds, okay? And then lastly is dramatic performance. Dramatic performance here in NCFL, we don't separate humorous from dramatic. I saw that in the chat earlier. The NSDA separates, we don't. And there could be somebody doing a Greek tragedy in the same room as someone doing a hilarious slapstick comedy. Again, how does that speaker transport you out of that classroom into the world they're created? It could be 1 character, a monodrama, or it could be 100 characters. How do they bring that to life? Again, it's either a play or a screenplay or a story, a novel, and how they bring that to life using their selves. This is where you'll see your free movement, back handsprings, whatever they'd like to do in dramatic performance. Again, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. With all of these, I think it's great. I see a lot of familiar faces, which is wonderful. I do see some names who have kids who have come through the program and now are giving back by being judges. I think what Greg said is true. You know, only a handful are going to get awards or trophies. A lot of times your feedback is what they're going to have, right? And that's why it's important to talk about what they did well and what they can improve upon on your ballot. I think Greg made a really good point also about the glitchiness sometimes of the internet or Tabroom. If you do use comments and put it in a Google Doc or Word or Notepad, whatever you want, and then cut and paste into Tabroom, you'll be a lot happier because God forbid something glitches, you won't lose what you have. What else? That's basically what I would say. The one thing I always caution, and my New York judges always agree with me, it's really hard sometimes, but try not to comment on the actual speech. What do I mean? Like, oh God, I hate David Sedaris. Okay, well, people like him because he's a best-selling author, and you're not Frank Rich. So please just try to comment on what the student did in the performance. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm the president and they come to me and say, this is what they said, it's hard to say, well, they didn't like David Sedaris. So it's what you did bringing it to life, right? And how that can be kind of the feedback we provide for these students. It's a wonderful activity. my coach and mentor was Brother George Zenley from Chaminade, and he always said, a good judge is a silent judge, right? So you certainly can be kind, take attendance, welcome them, wish them luck, and then go. But all of your comments should really go on the ballot. If we just say like, wow, you were awesome to one person, the other six are like, I'm terrible. I did a terrible job, because they're teenagers and that's what they do. So please, please, you are the adult in the room. We thank you for being here. I honestly mean that. I know it gets tense sometimes, but we could not do this tournament without you. And we thank you all. And if you have any questions, you can certainly put them in the chat. And thank you.
All right, so Frank, I would say at this point we can probably stop the recording just so
Actually,
that.
well, I want to do the tech demo
I'm
first.
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me turn things over to Frank, and he's
Sure.
going to do the tech demo.
And
Sure.
and pay attention, because Frank is the whiz. Take it away.
Meanwhile, Tom, Greg, or Mark, can you keep an eye on the chat? I've been furiously typing, but I think there's a few more questions coming in.
Yep, I can take care of that.
Okay, let me just share my screen and I'll show you some of what the logistics for the tournament will look like. Actually, let me start with one other thing. So I'm going to show you what the live doc for last year's tournament looked like. Do not use this for any kind of information. I just want to show you what one of these looks like, because you'll be looking at it throughout the day. Get that open. Okay, so this is an example of what the speech live dot looks like. There'll be a nice table of contents so you can navigate it. We will have here all these locations, so you don't need to remember. These are not for this year. These are last year's locations, but we will have locations for all the events, all the staff. We'll have contact information for how to get in touch with speech tab. Don't write down this phone number. It is a different phone number this year. There'll be an email address. We'll have a place for announcements that you can see throughout the day. So keep this document up and refreshed, and we'll be typing on this throughout the day. And we'll also have in here the full schedule, so you'll know when all the rounds are. We also try to post for judges what's called a judge chart. The judge chart gives you a sense of where you'll be for the day. I think, is there still... Okay, here's an example again from last year. What it will be is everyone by name. It's not going to tell you what room you're going to. It's not that detailed, but it will tell you, for example, which time slots you are judging, or if you're on standby for that round. And as Greg said, if you're on standby, we ask that you go to the standby location, whatever building you're stationed at. So that's the live doc. We'd use Tabroom for all of our online balloting. So most judges at this point have Tabroom accounts, and those Tabroom accounts have been linked to the tournament. There are a handful of judges we're still trying to track down email addresses for, so you may get contacted by someone about setting up a Tabroom account if you haven't done so already. We release ballots to you one at a time, usually about a half hour before the scheduled start time of the round. And when you log into Tabroom, if you click your email at the top of the screen, you'll be brought to a page that looks like this, and I'll actually send this link out into the chat. This is a test ballot you can play around with if you want to. So this is here. This is an example. No one judge would ever be judging speech, Congress, and public forum in the same day, but this is an example of what several different ballots will look like. We'll focus on this top one, which is for speech. So you'll see what event you're judging. This stands for online ballot training because this was a demo, but this will say something like extemp, drama, deep, OI, OO, one of those abbreviations that I posted in the chat before. Tell you what room you're going to, tell you the scheduled start time, and it'll give you the numbers of the students that you are judging. So the numbers are how the students will find themselves on each schedule. They will know their number, they'll know where to go. If you click on the ballot, and we have the ability to change what this button says. I'm not sure for this tournament if we say on my way or acknowledged or start round, but whatever we say here, clicking that will let us in the tournament office know that you have seen this ballot. In the old days when this was all in paper, we would have a table where you would come to collect it, and we could see someone's missing because their paper would still be left behind on the table. This button is the online equivalent of that. If you don't click this button, we start getting panicky, we start making phone calls, we may even establish a fine with your school and replace you with another judge if you don't click this button. So click the button, that will take you into the ballot. On the ballot, you'll see the codes once again. You'll also see the names of the students that you're judging. It is a very good idea for one of the judges to take attendance. Even though the students know their numbers, they might get lost, they might get confused. So maybe Sylvia misread the schedule and she's going to go to the wrong room because she thought her number was 2662 or something like that. So at the beginning of the room, quickly take attendance, make sure that the 6 or 7 students sitting there are the ones you expect to be judging. It's a good idea while you're taking that attendance, you can even fill in their titles or questions. So title for the interp events or questions for extemp. And at the bottom of the screen is where you'll write your comments. As Greg and Tom both said before, and I want to repeat, do not use this to draft your comments. Please do not draft your comments in Tabroom. Use Word or Google Docs or Notepad or something like that to write your comments. I think I see a question in the chat about, can you take notes on paper? Absolutely. If you're faster at writing than typing, you can take your notes on paper and type these up later. This will stay open that you can edit your comments up until the end of the tournament. But if you are doing that, at least put something in the ballot so we know that you're working on them and that you'll come back and put your comments in later. When you first land on the ballot, this box will say everyone, and as that drop down suggests, things you type into this box will go to everyone. So a copy of whatever you type here will go to everyone in the round. Typically, you'd use this box for some very general comments about the round, or this was a very good round. As a judge, these are the types of things I like to look for in this event. Congratulations, everyone, for making it to nationals. These aren't going to be your very detailed comments. Most of your comments are going to be aimed at individual students or teams. So you can select as they're speaking. So say Sylvia is your first speaker. By the way, this is also the order they should speak in. So Sylvia will be your first speaker. Sylvia speaks. You can give her your attention, give her your time signals. Be taking notes as she's speaking. They expect that. If you're just staring at her the whole time, that will get very concerning. At the end, you'll fill in as much as you can from this ballot, save your comments, move on to the next student, so on and so forth. At the end of the round, you'll give your ranks. This demo ballot we use also for the New York local league where we use speaker points, but at NCFL, there are no speaker points. So you won't actually see this column. You only have one place where you can put in numbers. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to make up some points, but ignore this. You do not have to put in points for this tournament. But let's make up some scores. So let's say Sylvia was maybe R3, Carlos was R1, maybe Dulcie was R2, Joy was R4, Fletcher was R5, and Christopher was R6. And like I said, I have to put in some speaker points, so let's just put something in, but they will not be relevant for this weekend. Submit your ballot. When you submit your ballot, it will show you your scores again. And what trips people up on this screen, we get a lot of questions about, it will now show them in the order that you ranked them, not the order that they spoke. So just look at this screen one more time, make sure, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. I thought Carlos was the best in the room, Dulcie was second best, down to Christopher, who I thought was least best. If you look at this and you think, maybe this is a mistake. Maybe I really meant to put Joy above Sylvia now that I think about it. You can hit the red button, come back here, and update your ballot. So let's make Joy 3 and make Sylvia 4. Again, ignore the points, but for now I have to make the points match those ranks. Did I miss something? I repeated the rank of 3. Yes, I did. So,
but that's a good example, Frank. There you go.
if you see us, by the way, if you see a screen like this, please correct the errors before you move forward. I remember one of the first tournaments we were using these online ballots. Someone said, "I turned in my ballot. What do you mean you don't see it?" And when I went to their screen, it was stuck on this screen with all the errors of things that they needed to correct, and they never bothered to correct them. So if you do see errors show up like this, please do correct them and submit again. You are not finished until you click this green button. So once you click the green button, you look at this and say, yes, this is definitely how I want to rank everything. Click the green button, and that completes your obligation for this round. At the end of that, you'll have a play. Oops. Back one. At the end of that, you'll have a place where you can see your past scores and feedback. I don't have it working in this demo, but here's where you'll see all your past scores where you can go in and finish editing your comments after you're done with the rounds that you're assigned to. We do send out notifications through Tabroom, so I encourage you at the top of, not in this demo, but if you go to the realtabroom.com website, you'll see this bell icon at the top right. I encourage you to click that icon, which will set up your notifications. They'll come as push notifications on your phone, and they'll also show up in this little envelope here. Notifications are a best efforts basis. Do not rely solely on notifications to know where to go. As I mentioned, we'll publish this judge chart to give you a sense of where you're supposed to be. And if you get to see, hey, I'm supposed to be judging at 8 o'clock, but I don't see anything in haven't gotten any notifications, refresh your Tabroom page because it's possible you've gotten the ballot and just the notification itself is delayed. Especially at these big tournaments, sometimes we've had the notifications will come an hour or so late, which is not very useful, but the notifications are should not be the only reason you know you have a round. So I think I went through all of that rather quickly. What I'm going to do is stop the recording, and then I'll actually allow people to unmute if there's other questions that we haven't been able to address. Let me just stop the recording. Once again, thank you all for being here. Stop sharing my screen.